Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Hannah and I post all things lifestyle. So here is the final part 4 of our 4-part series of our Viking cruise that we went on during Christmas time. Thank you guys so much for being here, and if you're not already, please consider subscribing to my channel. I would greatly appreciate it. And let's get into the video. I always like to include this brief little overview of each day during our trip, and feel free to go watch parts 1 through 3 if you haven't already. I will have them linked above for you. So we're starting off day 6 in Strasbourg, France, which I absolutely loved this portion of the trip. I loved visiting the Alsace region of France, and here you can see we're crossing over the bridge from Germany into France, and you'll just see why I loved it. The building and architecture is so beautiful, so romantic, and the food is just so delicious.
There's a Kathy wall fart.
No.
For day 7, we did an excursion into the cities of Colmar and Rickwar. I think that's how you say it, which you can pause here and read a little bit about those places. And it was just so beautiful, you'll see.
Of the villages here in Alsace were actually rebuilt after the Second World War. So most of these houses are built in the 50s, so they have this characteristic 50s style. They are not as impressive and beautiful as the houses we've seen in Colmar. Colmar and Rickwar, together with few more villages, are the only places that actually survived Second World War. They didn't get completely destroyed, but the rest of Peace, last part of France that got liberated in the Second World War with the joint forces of French and American soldiers. So there was a famous battle called Colmar Pocket that was fought here in Colmar.
One of the things we learned during our excursion is that these cities of the Alsace region of France was part of the inspiration for Beauty and the Beast. So all I could think of was the songs from Beauty and the Beast singing in my head. That concludes the video portion of today's video. I wanted to add a little slideshow of all of the photos that I took during the last couple days of the cruise, and I also wanted to answer some questions that I had on previous videos about what I recommend packing, what I used throughout the trip, and that kind of stuff. So we went on this cruise in December, so it was actually very freezing when we went. So I highly recommend packing a good winter coat. So I brought my North Face coat that went down to my knees, and I actually stayed pretty warm during the whole entire trip. I layered a couple layers, and I also highly recommend bringing long johns or something to put under your jeans so that you can have double layers there. Another piece of advice that I have when it comes to traveling the Christmas markets in Europe, I think this goes for both German Christmas markets and all Christmas markets, is to make sure you have cash, because some of the vendors don't accept cards and it can be easier to just use euros instead of having to pull out your card or not being able to buy something that you want because they don't take your card. Now, there were a lot of vendors though that did take a card, so if you don't have cash, then don't worry, like it's not the end of the world, but you might miss out on something that you really like. A couple more things that I packed were really good shoes to walk around in and non-slip shoes, because when it's icy it can be fairly slippery out and about. I just had these boots on and they were pretty good non-slip. I think I got these off of Amazon and they're actually really comfortable. I really only wore one pair of shoes the entire time, so save some space in your suitcase and just pack like 1 or 2 pairs of shoes. So yeah, clothing item wise, just make sure you pack things that are gonna keep you warm. You want a really good coat, like a winter coat. You want a good pair of shoes because you're going to be walking around a lot on old streets, and you want to make sure you have like gloves, a hat to stay warm, a scarf, and also clothes that you can layer. Like I had a couple turtlenecks that I could layer, and also good socks to put underneath your shoes, and long johns to put under your pants. Another question that I had was what you wish you would have brought but you didn't. And to answer this question, I think that I wish that I brought more long johns because I only had one pair to use for the entire trip and it was kind of hard to wash them in between. So definitely bring like 2 or 3 at least. Also comfortable socks and lots of underwear. I know that's a little TMI, but I wish that I brought more underwear. And then the last question I have was, what did I bring that I didn't need? And that would be the amount of sweaters and shirts that I brought. I really didn't need them because you're wearing your coat the entire time basically. So if I just had like 3 or 4 shirts, that would have been good enough. Instead, I brought a bunch of different sweaters and stuff that I didn't necessarily need, and it just took up space in my suitcase. Now, to give you guys some advice as far as the whole Viking and traveling experience. So we booked our flights and everything through Viking themselves, and now this isn't necessarily Viking's fault, but we had major issues when it came to flight cancellations and just terrible flight schedules in general. Like the day of leaving Europe, our flight got canceled and it was a nightmare. So if you want to opt to buy your own flight, then you can go right ahead. Again, I don't know if it was Viking's fault or if it's just the airlines itself, but the Viking reps were helpful in getting us new flights and everything like that. So that was definitely a nightmare, the whole travel situation, but we made it home, and thank God it was the end of the trip and not the beginning of the trip. Another thing that I just want to let you guys know, if you're thinking of booking one of these trips, is that really this is more of a trip for slower pace individuals when it comes to you know, you're getting everything planned for you, and really everything is kind of slowed down. And I also felt like because we were doing multiple cities in one day, that we didn't have really enough time to truly experience those cities. For instance, I wish that we had an entire day in Cologne instead of just a night in Cologne. So that was kind of disappointing. So if you are someone who wants to have a long amount of time in each city, then I recommend booking your own trip and kind of just planning everything on your own so that you can spend multiple days in one place. But if you are somebody who, you know, loves cruises and wants to go with the flow and doesn't mind hopping from place to place and only spending like a few hours in each little town, then this is the perfect one for you. Also, the food on these Viking cruises is amazing. I think it's the best cruise food I've ever had in my life. And honestly, it felt like I was eating at a gourmet restaurant every night. I was truly blown away by that. And also the service of the Viking staff was amazing. Never once did we leave our room and our room was like dirty. It was always made, the bed was always made. I had our clothes cleaned one night and it was back within an hour. You know, I loved the bathroom. Everything was very updated and it was just very clean. And also I loved that they had an ice machine because you can't find ice like anywhere in Europe. So that was a big plus as well. So overall, I really truly loved our experience and I had such a great time, and I was so happy that I could spend it with my aunt and uncle and Ben's family and our family friends. So that is it for this video. Thank you guys so much for following along this journey with me. I know it took a while for me to upload everything, but I'm so happy I was finally able to get through all of the footage and show you guys our trip that we had. It was an amazing trip. I truly did love the Viking cruise, and if you're with a big party and you know you want a way to travel Europe but you don't want to have to plan everything yourself, this is a great way to experience it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!